Good evening, everyone. You're in the Spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, December 18th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week this week before Christmas. Hope your week is treating you well so far here. And we have a lot to do tonight, so let's not waste any time. Let's get going by reminding you all of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember, use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And you can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page, please. All right. We have a lot to do tonight. Like we've been doing the last couple weeks, we're kind of combining our sports and wrestling. Mike will be joining us tonight, so that's why we're doing that, because then we can get his insights on wrestling as well instead of leaving it for Thursday, which means that Thursday will be another kind of lighter show. We won't have as much going on. So Thursday will just be like box office beat, TV highlights, and any other entertainment stuff we want to cover, and really anything else that we don't get to tonight, because there might be some things we don't get to tonight. If you looked at the show description tonight, you might have noticed that I did not put in anything to do with Major League Baseball, even though last week kind of was, there really wasn't a lot going on in baseball last week, even though it was the winter meetings week. So that's why we really didn't put anything in the show description. But there were some things that still took place over this last week on a minor scale. If we have some time, we'll talk about them. If we don't, then we'll leave them probably for Thursday and do a little bit of sports on Thursday along with entertainment, which we don't normally do, but at least not lately. But we might do that just so we have something else to fill up Thursday, because we don't have a lot. So just be aware that could be happening on Thursday too. We throw a couple sports things out there, and if something happens between now and Thursday, we'll add that in on Thursday too. I'm very amenable to adding sports to the show on Thursday, whereas I haven't been lately because I felt like we haven't had to. But I think that what do you call it? I'm feeling like maybe we're gonna have to add something to Thursday, so that's why I'm a little bit open to adding sports to Thursday. So we'll see, but that'll be Thursday. And Thursday also is the deadline. Thursday also is the deadline for this year's In the Spotlight Film Award ballot request. So if you haven't submitted a ballot request yet, please do so by Thursday, please, if you haven't already. We already received a substantial amount, but I know there's probably still some people out there that haven't. So if you have not done that yet, please, 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 please go ahead and do that and send it before Thursday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. That is the deadline. Now, somebody is telling me that they're not able to access the show, which is weird because I'm broadcasting live right now. I don't know why I'm not. It's somebody's saying we're not broadcasting. Let me check this out real quick here while I'm on the air here. Make sure that everything is going okay. Now it's showing up on my screen that we are broadcasting right now. It says stop broadcasting. So I'm not really sure why. Let me check this out. Looks like we could have had a bad link here. So let me check this out. Okay. So, all right. So I guess the problem is, it seems the problem is that the link is not working right. So let me check this out. Let's give me a minute here, folks. It appears that we have an issue with let me edit this. The link is wrong. That's really what the problem is. So let me just edit this link. I don't know what happened. Somehow it posted the wrong link. So let me fix that up here. And then we'll have the right link up there for y'all. So hang on. I guess that's what happened. All right. So this should fix everything. Okay. Here we go. And I'll post a new link on Twitter for those of you that want a new link there. We will do that right now and then fix that. Okay. There we go. That's better. All right. So my apologies for that, folks. I don't know what happened there. Somehow just it took a basic link instead of the extra specific links to the show. All right, so now we got that rectified. Like I said, we got a busy show tonight. We got football to get to. We look at week 15 and look ahead to week 16. Now Actually, you know what? Now I know what we're going to do on Thursday. We'll do our bowl preview on Thursday. We just don't have enough time to go through. We're going to do a college basketball preview, which we've been putting off for a few weeks. And it's the right time to do it tonight, I think, before Christmas. Because once you get into January, you're in the throes of conference play. And it doesn't make sense to do it then. So we'll do it tonight. So we got a college basketball headlines and preview. So we'll kind of go through things, make predictions, all that stuff. We got WWE TLC review, headlines, Ron SmackDown. We got a lot of stuff for WWE to do. We got the football stuff. So we got a lot to do tonight. So you know what? We'll make Thursday an entertainment and sports show, and we'll touch on the baseball stuff on Thursday. We'll do some college football on Thursday, the bowl preview, and then we'll do our usual entertainment stuff as well. So that will fill up Thursday. That'll give us more than enough to work with in regards to Thursday. So that's what we'll do. That way we don't have to worry about coming up with content for the show on Thursday. I was struggling to really get more than a half hour out of Thursday's show. So now we don't have to really worry about that. So, all right. So that solves that problem. So look forward to college football, and we'll do a little college football and baseball on Thursday, bowl preview, and some any other big MLB stuff. And by that point, maybe Manny Machado will sign because he's going to be meeting with some the Yankees tomorrow, and I think the Phillies on Thursday. So we can talk about all that on Thursday as well. So, all right. So Thursday we have a little bit of sports and entertainment coming up on Thursday. And then tonight, again, we got a big show of wrestling, we got football, we got college basketball, lots of stuff to go on and do tonight. But before we get going, and I'll get to all the stuff with the scheduling updates. I already told you about Thursday being the deadline for the ballot request for the film awards, so make sure you get those in by Thursday. Again, and well, I'll mention this now before I forget. Next week and the week after, we're going to be doing one show, and they'll both be on Thursday of next week. So keep the next 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. So this Thursday we have a show. That will be our last show until next Thursday, which will be December the 27th. And then that will be our only show of next week. And then after the 27th, our next show won't be until January 3rd. So because again, Christmas Day and New Year's Day both fall on Tuesday, so we will not air shows on those days. So just be aware of that the next 2 weeks we'll only be doing one show on Thursday, and then we'll be back to a normal schedule come the week after that. Okay, so that's the way of the land for next week. So that means those Thursday shows, maybe it's a good thing we're doing a combo show on Thursday, get you back in the swing of having combo shows of sports and entertainment coming at you. So that'll get you back in the swing of that over the next couple of weeks here, because that's what we'll be doing. So so look forward to that. So one show next week, one show the week after, and after that we'll be back into a normal routine as we start off 2019. Hard to believe that 2018 is coming to an end already. All right, so I know I kind of went through all that, and that was a lot, especially since I had to stop in the middle of it to deal with the link issue. But we're all good to go now. So let's get down to business. But actually, first, I know I'm rushing, and I'm trying to get everything in here so that we can get going. But before we get going, because I think we should mention this now, because it's far more important than what's going on the rest of the night here. We have to acknowledge the loss today of Penny Marshall at the age of 75. Penny Marshall, for those that do not know, was one of the stars of Laverne and Shirley. She directed A League of Their Own. She was a great comedian, director, just a great personality. Generally fun person to be around, and really a genius when it came to the business. So we want to acknowledge the loss of Penny Marshall here at the top of the show. May she rest in peace, and our thoughts and prayers go out to her loved ones and fans here today. I just want to note that here tonight, because that obviously was some sad news that dropped this afternoon. All right, so I want to mention that because, again, that's more important than all the trivial stuff we're going to talk about here tonight. And again, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get going here as we wait for Mike. Mike will join us probably in a few minutes. Let's get to the football, because we don't do the football before he comes on, he's going to be mad. Somebody just sent me a message. They were like, "Boy, you know what? You're all over the place, even more so than last Thursday. What's going on?" This is me when I know we have a lot to do, and I'm trying. And I know we started 15 minutes late, and I'm trying to do like get through all the normal stuff at the beginning of the show and just get to it. And I have my bullet points and my outlines right here. And here's the funny part, folks. And I don't know how many people how many people do this. Like you outline most shows. I don't do this, but when I'm flustered, when I'm in a hurry, I get flustered, and then I just think of it. I know what I have to do. Okay, I've looked at the outline. I have it in my mind. I know what we have to do. But despite the fact I got it right in front of me, how I'm going to go about things, this is what I got to do next, this is the next step, so on and so forth. Despite the fact that I have all that, I completely ignore it once I get on the air. So like I said, I have it all in my mind, but it's not all organized now because I'm just shooting it out there because I want to get through it quicker, right? So I have the usual stuff like on my sheet, it says reminder of how it, the usual stuff, email, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and then do this, then do that, then remind them of this, then remind them of that, and then, okay, we can go do this. Well, I chose to ignore all of that at the beginning of the show, and that's why I'm all over the place in my thoughts. And I did that on Thursday as well, because even though I didn't have a lot to do on Thursday, I wanted to just get through it. And when I do that, it's kind of a bad thing. It's something I haven't learned in the 8 years I've been doing this, that, you always should stick to what you have outlined, stick to what's on this, what you have designed and written out, because when you do that, everything's more coherent. It has a flow. It just works. And I did not do that. And people will call me on that too. They'll tell me, in constructive ways, because I think most people that have listened or watched over the years, they know, my quirks and how things work and so on. People say, "What's going on? Are you tired? Are you in a hurry? Is there something going on? What's the deal?" What? And so I always have to explain to them. Well, it's a little bit. Sometimes those are the reasons, or one of them is the reason, and the majority of the time, it's, yeah, I just ignored everything I outlined. I had it committed to memory. I just chose not to look at the outline of it and just decide to just go through those things and get them done and over with. So that's kind of what happens with me, and it's a bad habit that I have to break, especially once we start the new format in the beginning of the year, because it's just going to make things. It really doesn't make for good radio, good podcasting, or good anything. It just kind of comes off as rambling and going from point A to D to F to, there's like no flow at all. It's just very disruptive, and it's kind of hard to follow. So, yeah, again, that's something I have to apologize for when I do it. And sometimes I don't even apologize when I do it. I just naturally do it. So, but yeah, it's just me trying to get through things and get to what I feel like we have to get to. So, you learn as you grow, even though by now I should have grown past that point. But, yeah. So anyway, that's just a random thought for those of you that wonder why I do some of the things I do. That's a little bit of background on it. And I'm going to tell you, if you're interested in ever doing like a podcast or going into radio or whatever, this is just a little tip for anybody that wants to do that, or even if it's just as a hobby. Don't make it a habit. Don't do what I just did. Okay. Just, have your thoughts. Wow, this headset is just not going where I want it to go tonight. Have your thoughts written out. Have them all on the side and adhere to them. Do not go off course. Don't ever go off course. That's the one thing the biggest piece of advice I would do. Sometimes you can go into a show and just go, kind of freebird it. You can do that. But if you have a lot to do, you can't do that. It's just you're going to find yourself going off rails like I just did, and it's not good. So, and then people are going to notice, and you're going to get mail about it, and then they're going to act like something's going on when it isn't, and then you got to answer to them, whether either during the show or after the show, and it's just not fun. So don't do it. All right. So with that in mind, let's get down to business. Enough of the show host chat stuff that we got going on right now. As we wait for Mike, let's go into some football here, because it was an interesting week of football, and as I talked about last week, it's so hard to believe what has become of this NFL season. It really is. It's so hard to imagine what's happened. Because a few weeks ago, I think it was right around Thanksgiving, we thought this season was a lost cause, that a lot of the compelling storylines were over. You had the Rams and the Chiefs and maybe the Saints as at the top of the heap, and maybe the Patriots would be the other team. It didn't look like anything interesting was going to be happening. Fast forward almost a month, and you have so much compelling, so much in the way of compelling storylines. The Rams have completely fallen off the mark. They've lost 2 in a row. They no longer look like that dominant force they were. The Chiefs, they let go of Kareem Hunt. They look very vulnerable, and now they got the Chargers pretty much right there with them tied, and putting pressure on them here as they go into the final 2 weeks of the season. And of course, the Chargers beat them on Thursday night in a great game. So now the Chargers look like a team to be reckoned with, and really are the hottest team in the NFL right now. And there you have that, and then you have the Patriots, who had that Miami Miracle go against them last week, and then this week they lose a game to the Steelers, a game that 9 times out of 10 they win, because they've dominated the Steelers, but not this time. And the Pittsburgh, who has been just a wreck for the last few weeks, finds a way to, even though they didn't look great doing it, finds a way to win, as the Ravens are breathing down their necks. And all of a sudden, everything in the NFL is topsy-turvy. And then, Miami comes off the win against New England and drops a game to the Vikings, who looked just like the Steelers, looked terrible. But they changed coordinators. They changed offensive coordinators, and all of a sudden they put up 41 points. And now the Vikings look decent. The Eagles, who are left for dead, all of a sudden beat the Rams 30-23. Foles, who we all know what Nick Foles did last year for the Eagles, and finds himself there again. And look what happens. Wentz out for the rest of the year. Nick Foles comes in, and now the Eagles are alive. New Orleans has to beat a Carolina team last night that again looked dead. Now they probably are dead now, but they only won at 12-9, which goes to show you, against a good defense. We saw Dallas do it, and now we saw Carolina do it. New Orleans might not be a foregone conclusion. They show vulnerability. Seattle looked like they had everything solid to the way. They lose to the 49ers in overtime. They don't look as strong as they once did. Tennessee's still alive. They knock off a Giant team that looked like they might be still alive. Washington looks dead. They come back this week behind Josh Johnson, and they're still alive. So all these teams that are either left for dead, either have come alive, or made you think that, or put themselves in a position to make this thing. And you have teams that you thought had it made, that have completely fallen apart, and maybe they're still going to make it, but they no longer look like the juggernauts that you once thought they were. Heck, the Browns beat Denver on Saturday night, and they're still alive. And Dallas looks like world beaters for the last month of the season, and Indy goes in. They go into Indy and get dropped 23-0. Houston, coming off a loss, just barely gets by the Jets. So what do we learn? What's the big takeaway from Week 15? The big takeaway is, usually by now I can say, and actually usually by a few weeks into the season, I can say who I think is on that upper tier of Super Bowl contenders, and then who's on the next tier of teams that are competing and are looking to move onto that upper tier. And then you got the middle group, barely hanging on or in the mix or whatever, and then those that are out of it. Well, you can take those that are out of it. You can even take them, but everybody else is, you don't know. This might be the most unpredictable group of competitive teams that you've ever seen in NFL history. I know parity's always been a thing with the NFL, but this might be the most unpredictable group, because as I sit here right now, yes, do I still like the Chiefs? Yes. Do I still like the Rams? Yes. Do I still like the Saints? Yes. Do I still think you got a team like the Cowboys or the Bears or the Patriots or the Steelers that can still get there to the big game? Yes. But boy, none of these teams, I'm going to be honest with you, none of these teams, as I see it right now, I don't feel, my confidence level in pretty much all of these teams I just mentioned is no more than 70%, which as we're about to approach week 16. We're in the final 2 weeks of the season. I don't remember the last time I've ever felt like that. I don't think I've ever felt like that. Like what kind of NFL landscape are we in that the team that you might feel the most confident in right now is the LA Chargers. That's unbelievable. If I'm being completely honest, the two teams I think are playing the best in the NFL right now are the Chargers and the Colts. And maybe the Bears too. Those three would be the teams. So it's just crazy what has developed in this last month. You got the battle between the Chargers and the Chiefs for the AFC West. The battle for the 6th seed in the AFC. The Patriots and their struggles and who gets the 2 seed. The Steelers and the Ravens. Can the Ravens catch Pittsburgh? That's just in the AFC. The NFC, the battle for the 6th seed. The battle. I mean, it looks like New Orleans is going to get home field now because of what happened with the Rams. But still, could the Rams maybe see if we still do it if the Saints lay an egg next 2 weeks? And what happens with the Rams? Can they right this ship? And that's going to be you look at teams like the Rams and the Chiefs and the Chargers. Those 3 teams are among your top teams going in here, right? All those teams have not had good runs in the playoffs, aside from the Rams winning with Kurt Warner years back in the early 2000s. Think about that for a second. The Rams were a top team last year. They came into the playoffs, laid an egg, and went home in week 1. And a lot of people think they could do that again. The Chargers have always had playoff issues. The Chiefs have always had playoff issues. The Texans have always had playoff issues. If you want to bring them into this. Dallas, same thing. A lot of these top teams have had issues in the playoffs. But teams like the Saints, the Patriots, the Steelers, they haven't. And that's why even with their struggles, when push comes to shove, you might feel more confident in those teams. Whether they're at home or on the road, because they've been there. They've done it. And there's no accounting for that. So as we look ahead to week 16 and we look at our picks, and I know that was a very kind of quick overview of the week, but there's nothing else to be said. That was really the general takeaway from the week is that this is going to be a crazy end of the season. And this is about parity. This is about unpredictability. This is about not knowing what you're going to get from a team week to week. And probably one of the most wide open races to the Super Bowl we've ever seen in NFL history, in my mind. And that's crazy. It's just hard to believe that what we're seeing. Because a month ago, it did not look like this was going to be the case. And now it is. But as we look at our picks for week 15, we lost. I picked the Chiefs over the Chargers. That was a loss. I picked Colts over Cowboys. That was a win. Patriots over Steelers. That was a loss. Rams over Eagles. That was a loss. Saints over Panthers. That was barely a win. And Bears over Packers, I believe. Yes, it was. Yep, Bears over Packers was a win, so I got that one right. And I went 3-3 for the week. So right back to 3-3 after a decent week. So again, consistency, I guess. This year it's been about being 500. And that, again, based on the way things are developing, I guess it makes sense that I would be 500 because it's a hard year to kind of figure out, especially lately. So, all right. So now we flip the script to week 16, which again, the final 2 weeks of the season, and so much unpredictability going on. And what do you make of these teams? You don't know what you're going to get week to week with some of these teams, especially the top teams. So, and there's a lot of interesting games on the board here playoff ramifications. And once we get to this point, you know that that's usually the games that we're going to be picking are really the games that have playoff ramifications. But as I've been out doing, I'll go over the schedule and I'll let you know what games I'm actually going to pick. I'll give you a favorite in each game, but I'll let you know what games I'm actually going to pick when I get to them. So week 16 here. Come on. It's not going to come up for me. It's going to be difficult. Hang on just a second, folks. No, I don't want week 14. I want week 16. Bring it on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And the show comes to a grinding halt. Okay, hang on. Here we go. There we go. Week 16. Thank you. There we go. All right. So it's just taking forever to load. Come on. Wow. This is ridiculous. Okay. Yes, week 15 is not what I want, though. Okay, we're gonna re-roll this because this is ridiculous. It's like it can't catch up. It just keeps going back to the same page. All right, let's do this. This is where we need we need Jeff Tech back because this would have happened. Well, it would have happened, but at least I would have felt like I could blame somebody for it. Okay. Let's go back in. Let's try this again. All right. So now we're back at the page. Because I think what happened was it had too much stuff going on. It was too busy a page. So it just didn't want to load. Okay. Week 16. There we go. All right. We're good. Okay. So remember, now there will not be any Thursday football. So you don't have any Thursday football. But you do have 2 Saturday games with playoff implications, so we will pick those games. So that first game, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the NFL Network, the 7-7 Redskins, 4-3 on the road, go into Tennessee to take on the 8-6 Titans, who are 5-1 at home. This is an easy one for me to pick. I like the Titans here. I like the way that they played. I like the running game. I like, the Redskins. I'm shocked they pulled off what they did last week. I just think probably the matchup was probably in their favor. Tennessee has, been very good at home, where they made most of their headway. The Redskins, you know what they've had, the problems that they've had. To me, this seems like an easy one, grinded out kind of team with Tennessee. Redskins depleted on defense, not going to be able to stop the run, not really going to be able to stop the pass either, to be honest. This should be an easy Titans win. So Titans in this game for me. 8:20 p.m. Eastern, NFL Network. 8-6 Ravens, 3-4 on the road at the 11-3 Chargers, 5-2 at home. It's a good game. The Ravens have played their way into the conversation, trying to put pressure on the Steelers. Right now, they would be the 6th seed. Chargers would be the 5, but they're trying to win a division. San Diego has actually been better on the road. But nonetheless, I think they're better than the Ravens. I've liked the way they played. They got great momentum. And I think that they're going to be one of the few teams that can match up and put a stop to the running, to the multi-dimensional attack of Lamar Jackson. So I like the Chargers to win this game. But boy, that should be an interesting, fun, close game. But Chargers over Ravens for me. Momentum, I think, is king in this game. So now we go to the Sunday games. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. 6-8 Bengals, 2-4 on the road. The 6-7-1 Browns, 4-1 at home. Browns need to keep winning to stay in the conversation. I would favor them here. The Bengals are a dead team right now, so Browns I would say are the favorite here. Not picking the game, but though Browns would be the one I would look at. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. 5-9 Buccaneers, 1-6 on the road. At the 8-6 Cowboys, 6-1 at home. Dallas has been a completely different team at home. Dallas should win this one. Not picking it, but they should win this one. 1 o'clock from Eastern on Fox. 7-6-1 Vikings, 2-4-1 on the road. At the 5-9 Lions, 3-4 at home. Vikings look like a different team last week with the new offensive coordinator. I'd favor them here on the road, but then again, they've been a weird team to figure out, so who knows? Not picking the game, but you have to favor the Vikings there. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. The 5-9 Giants, 3-4 on the road. At the 8-6 Colts, 5-2 at home. Giants are done. I don't expect much from them here. I think the Colts have been really good, and they're especially better at home. I think the Colts win this one easily here. I'd favor them. I'm not picking the game, but I'd favor them here. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. The 4-10 Jaguars, 1-5 on the road. At the 7-7 Dolphins, 6-1 at home. Dolphins have been one of those teams that's better at home, and I think they'll win it here. Jaguars really don't have anything on offense, and Dolphins can match them defensively. I think Dolphins should win that one. Not picking it, but they should win that one. Let's see. Okay, 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. 5-8 Bills. I'm sorry, 5-9 Bills. 2-5 on the road. At the 9-5 Patriots. 6-0 at home. I was thinking about picking this game, but I just think New England's lost 2 in a row. They're at home. They haven't lost their home all season. They don't usually lose at home in December. To me, it's an easy New England win, so I'd favor them. So that's why I'm not picking it. But New England should win that one. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. 5-8-1 Packers. 0-7 on the road. At the 4-10 Jets. 2-5 at home. Game means nothing. Packers should win. Whatever. Not picking it. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. 10-4 Texans. 5-2 on the road. At the 7-7 Eagles. 4-3 at home. This game does matter. We will pick this game. I like the Eagles here. I have felt like even though the Texans haven't been a bad team this year, I feel like against a team that can be physical with them, and against a team that potentially has explosive, dynamic playmakers on offense, they're going to have a problem. And the Eagles have that. And when they're on, they're very tough to beat. And they are at home. And I think they have some momentum. And Foles will be quarterback. When they have Foles, they look like a different team. No disrespect to Carson Wentz. This seems like they're a different team. I like the Eagles here over the Texans. Let's see here. Next game I'm going to pick, even though I shouldn't because it doesn't really have as many playoff implications as some of the other games, but I can't find another game to pick. So 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. The 5-9 Falcons, 1-5 on the road. The 6-8 Panthers, 5-2 at home. To me, it figures to be the closest game. Look, the Panthers theoretically are still alive. The Falcons are not. But they'll play for pride, and they'll be a tough matchup. Carolina look like they got they look like they're going to try to win it with defense the rest of the way here. Offensively, they just can't seem to get it done. They are at home. They played better at home all year. I like Carolina here in a close one over the Falcons. All right. So, let's see here. Next up, now we go to the 4 o'clock window of games, 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 11-3 Rams, 5-2 on the road. At the 3-11 Cardinals, 1-6 at home. If this game don't get the Rams back on track, I don't know what will. Should be an easy Rams win. Not picking it, but still should be an easy Rams win. 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 10-4 Bears, 3-3 on the road. At the 4-10 49ers, 4-3 at home. Bears should win it. Not picking the game, but Bears should win it. But hey, look what the 49ers did last week to the Seahawks. So take them seriously. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. 8-5-1 Steelers, 4-2-1 on the road. At the 12-2 Saints, 5-1 at home. Steelers trying to win to keep in front of the Ravens and try to salt things away. Saints trying to win to stay in front of the Rams and take that 1 seed and clinch everything outright. Look, the Steelers won last week. I know that, but they didn't look good doing it. And I still think the Saints are much better. They can handle things defensively and offensively. We all know how gifted they are. To me, this is an easy game to pick, especially with the Saints at home. Saints over Steelers for me. Next up, we have the Chiefs and the Seahawks. 8:20 p.m. Eastern game on NBC. 11-3 Chiefs, 5-2 on the road at the 8-6 Seahawks. 4-2 at home. It's a tough break for Seattle coming off the loss to the 49ers because now they have to deal with Kansas City, who is coming off a loss to the Chargers. It needs to win to stay in front of the Chargers. Very tough game for them. Chiefs have been solid enough on the road. Seahawks are always good at home. I like Kansas City here only because I don't know, even with Seattle's defense, they can stop a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. I just don't know if they can. So I think offensively, Kansas City just has too much. So Kansas City over Seattle for me on Sunday Night Football. That should be a good game. So I already made my 6 picks, but there is one more game on the schedule. Monday Night Football, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. 6-8 Broncos, 3-4 on the road. The 3-11 Raiders, 2-5 at home. Really doesn't matter. I mean, Denver is pretty much out of it at this point, but still, I think it could be. I think it should be at least a close game. Both Raiders have been playing a little bit better lately, and obviously Denver's been playing better. Broncos are probably the favorite, but you never know with Oakland. They've been playing well recently, so. All right, so that's it. That's your schedule for Week 16. So some intriguing games. I don't think the intriguing games are going to be close games, though. I could see Titans, Redskins being close, Chargers, Ravens being close. Maybe Chiefs, Seattle, maybe, but everything else, I don't really see a lot of these games being close. So it's got some intrigue Week 16, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be good as far as how the results end up as far as scores. But we'll see. So your picks for Week 16 of the NFL season: Titans over Redskins, Chargers over Ravens, Eagles over Texans, Panthers over Falcons, Saints over Steelers, Chiefs over Seahawks. Your picks for Week 16 of the NFL season. And next week, we'll make our last picks of the regular season, Week 17, and then it's playoff time. So again, hard to believe, but this is where we're at. So, I'm gonna bring Mike in now so he can go all crazy bashing me about football. Go ahead, Mike. How you doing?
I was fine. I enjoyed some Wreck-It Ralph 2 tonight, and while you were talking about your shitty football, I was half asleep anyway. So nice job there.
Nice that you got to see Wreck-It Ralph. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, well, you've had more opportunities than I have, and I didn't. So you check.
Yeah, I don't have opportunities. I have a kid. So
and half of that's your problem.
That's true. I don't think of it as a problem. I think of it as a blessing. I love her. So, yeah. But anyway, all right. So, as I said, we'll do the college football stuff on Thursday. We'll do the MLB stuff on Thursday. We have some wrestling. We have some college basketball stuff to get to. We'll jump into some college basketball first because we can do that kind of quick. Even though I know we said we're doing a preview. We're not doing a comprehensive one, only because of this. Let me just say this, okay? Because people have been asking me, well, you haven't done a basketball preview. And I'm like, well, I've chosen to wait longer this year because I think it makes, sometimes it takes a long time lately to get a sense of these teams. And in some cases, you still don't get a sense of these teams. Yeah, there's a few that going in were going to be good, and so far they've proven to be that. And then there's a few that were up at the top and have kind of been, they've been, I guess maybe not as quite as good, but they're there. And then you got a bunch of teams you just can't figure out, and you still can't figure them out. And if you think there's parity in the NFL, there's so much parity in college basketball. So if not more, so it's one of those things where having a preview, unlike when we preview MLB or NBA or even NFL, it's hard. There's so many teams, so you can't sit here and do like this long 20, 25-minute segment and go, okay, let's go by conference by conference. Let's do this. Let's do that. You can only just merely do a general overview and kind of just be like, hey, these are the teams that I think are the strongest, and these are the teams I think are going to upset the entire damn thing and screw around with your bracket as we stand right now. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the teams that I think could F up your bracket in March are ranked. Which how many times have we been able to say that in December? I can't think of a time. So, and I'm going to be honest with you all about this too. as I look at the top 25, and I don't put a lot of stock in the top 25 in December, I just don't. But just for discussion purposes, I'm looking at this top 25. Honestly, maybe 12 teams deserve to be there right now. 12. And I've watched a lot of games. I've watched a lot of these teams play. So it's not like I'm coming from it from I just looked at the records and I looked at who they played. No, I've watched a lot of these teams play. I maybe out of the top 25, I maybe only missed out on 4 or 5 teams. And those 4 or 5 teams are not among the 12 teams are among the 12 teams that I think deserve to be there. So it's not like I'm eliminating anybody if I haven't seen them play. Okay, so just go with that in mind. I think I like Gonzaga a lot, but they've been completely exposed since the Duke game. It's becoming more and more like Duke had a bad night, and that's really what that amounts to. I think Kansas is horribly overrated. I don't think this is one of the better Kansas teams. I really don't. Obviously, by the time we get to March, they'll be a good team. I'm not saying they're not a good team now, but I don't think they're a top 10 team right now. I honestly don't believe that. I think Kentucky's better than them. That's something I believe very strongly in. I think Duke's the best team. I think Duke will probably win it. And I'm not saying that as a fanboy. I think they're the best team. Quite frankly. So, I think a lot of focus so far has been on teams that have been struggling, like Villanova, like Gonzaga recently. Syracuse lost to Buffalo tonight, lost to Old Dominion on Saturday. We can go out. What do you make of Michigan State? What do you make of these teams? Well, I think what I make of is this. Let's take a look at something. Michigan State hasn't lost to a bad team yet. I still think they're overrated, but they haven't lost to a bad team. So let's wipe that one away. Gonzaga, maybe they weren't never as good as people thought they were. So let's back that one up too. What's wrong with Syracuse? Simple. They right now they can't score. They didn't have their point guard. 2 of the losses that they had didn't have their point guard. Okay. Their point guard has come back. He's clearly not 100%. He's clearly not conditioned. He's tentative. And then they got centers that are not performing up to par. And their defense is porous, and they're not rebounding the basketball. Simple as that. And they played a team tonight that I always thought they were going to lose to. Because I think Buffalo is a top 10 team. And you're going to find out. Now Buffalo's going to play Marquette, I think, on Friday. If Buffalo beats Marquette on Friday, I don't think Buffalo's going to lose again to the NCAA tournament. I don't. They're going to be unbeaten. They are a fantastic basketball team. They shoot the ball effectively. They play really good defense. They rebound the basketball well. They are going to be a nightmare for a team to play in March. They are going to be a nightmare. And they're going to be a high-seeded nightmare. Which means to me that they are going to advance probably into the second weekend just by default because they're probably going to be a top 4 seed. And they're going to be one of those teams that we're going to be looking at in March and saying, well, do they deserve to be a number 1 seed even though their schedule wasn't what, Duke's was or whatever. But they've already beaten Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. And if they beat Marquette on Friday, Marquette's a top 25 team right now. So I would think that they'd be okay. They might be able to get a number 1 seed or a 2 seed. And if that's the case, then I like their chances to get to the second weekend. So Buffalo is one of those teams that I think, we usually look at them as a bracket buster. They're above that. They are above that, folks. They really are. They're not a bracket buster. They're just a generally good team. They're better than any of the Big Ten teams. I would hazard a guess that they're on par with Kansas. I think they're better than most of the Big 12 teams. They're that good. Tennessee is that good. Michigan is that good. Nevada is that good. I'm on the fence about Auburn right now, but I think they could be. If you would ask me right now who the top 5 teams in the country are, Duke is 1, Michigan is 2 for me, Tennessee is 3, Buffalo is 4, believe it or not, and Kentucky is 5. And I would probably put let's see. I would probably put Nevada up around 8 or 7. I don't know how I'd fill the rest of the gaps in yet, because I keep going back and forth on a few teams. I keep going back and forth on Florida State, Gonzaga, and what do we call it? Texas Tech. I keep going back and forth on that bunch, so I can't fill in the rest of the gaps. So if you look at that, who do I think is my Final Four? I like Duke, I like Michigan, I like Tennessee, and I like Buffalo. Those would be my Final Four right now. And I think Duke will be the champion. That's what I would say right now. Like I said, Buffalo. I think Buffalo is above a bracket buster, but everybody's going to look at them as that and look like a Cinderella when they're not. So that's going to be kind of like everybody's choice there. Do I buy into Furman? Maybe a little bit. They would be a team that I think would qualify more as a Cinderella. To be honest, I like them though. I think they could do some things. I like St. John's. I don't think they're getting enough attention. Belmont is a team to keep an eye on. San Francisco is another team to keep an eye on. So those teams would be teams on the outside looking in that don't get a lot of attention, that you could look in your bracket and March and go, okay, as far as the lower seeded Cinderella type stories, those teams I would know. You probably can judge by my comments so far that I think the Big Ten is going to be down, the Big 12 is going to be down. I agree. I think both of them are down. Honestly, I think the only 2 conferences that are strong and really are really the only 2 conferences that I think have any depth to them are the ACC and the Big East. I think Georgetown's better this year. I think St. John's is better this year. I think Seton Hall's even better than they were last year. I think the SEC was going to be stronger, but they don't look that way anymore. I think they're going to be down. I really just think, I think it's really the ACC and the Big East that are the only 2 strong conferences. Everybody else, I think, is either down or at the very least mediocre like they were last year. That doesn't mean that they won't have a team or 2 that does something special in March. But I just don't think they have much depth to those teams. And I don't really see anybody from those conferences winning the tournament this year. I just don't. So, I could go on and on here and go, we could do another 20, 30 minutes on it. And I think people would expect that, oh, it's a preview thing. You gotta go into more detail. No, because there really isn't much you can say when it comes to the way college basketball is right now. And I said this last year too. You really can't get a read for a lot of these teams. Some teams are just so good, Duke, Tennessee, whatever, you can do that. And then there's but everybody else, you can't. And going conference by conference and trying to detail, you can't do that either. Because what we say right now in 2 months is going to be completely different. That's why when we get to March, we can do a whole show on the NCAA tournament, because by that point, you've seen the entire season and you feel a little bit better about talking about these teams. You can't do what you do with the NFL or Major League Baseball, NBA with college basketball. You can't. Or even college football, you can't. It's just it's too long of a season and things change. But that's why we used to say, when we used to talk about the bubble watch, right? How you did in your last 10. They used to put more weight, the selection committee, and I used to like this, on what you've done recently versus what you did in November, because a team can be so different at the end of the season than when they started. It's the truth. It's the truth. So that's why I don't think you can do this long, drawn out preview segment when it comes to college basketball. Just can't do it. Now, somebody asked me, you never did get to what's wrong with Villanova. It's having a down year. They're rebuilding. And I think their defense has suffered in spots. But that's as simple as that. That happens. I know for some teams like Duke, Kentucky, whatever, they seem to bounce back a little quicker. Villanova, I think, is I think they're getting to that level, but I don't think they're quite there yet. Eventually, they'll get to that level where they will bounce back quicker, and they won't have this kind of adjustment period where they're trying to, get rotations down, figure their chemistry out, that kind of thing. But ask me again about Villanova in February, March, because I think you'll be feeling differently about them, because I think they're going to come into their own. I think they're going to be fine. They're better than what they've showed. And I'm telling you right now, Penn might be another team to look at in the NCAA tournament. They're not a bad team at all. They're not. Same thing with Old Dominion. Syracuse lost them. They're not bad either. These are teams that you're going to want to look at as you go through the season, because I think they're going to be tough teams to face. So keep those in mind. Mike, do you have any thoughts? You want to give any basketball thoughts, either recently or season thoughts, whatever? Throw them out there. Have some fun.
Oh my God, I thought you would never stop talking. Oh my God. I'm going to summarize this entire segment in about 2 sentences.
Cool, okay.
It's too early to preview the season. Teams right now are not where they're going to be come March. Ask us in February. Duke will still be good. There. I just finished your segment and you just rambled on for like 20 minutes. God damn it, Brian.
Although, Mike, I will say this: previewing the season when it's at the end of the regular season seems kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, because let's face it, previewing the basketball season is nothing like previewing the tournament.
That's true. People care more about that.
No shit, Sherlock.
That's. I guess that proves my point a little bit, though, because you do have far more to talk about when it gets to March, as opposed to now when it's just kind of like a crapshoot. But yeah,
it's a crapshoot. Teams are still figuring out their own identities. Syracuse sucks right now, but once they develop into the ACC, playing Buffalo in that elite competition, well, they'll figure themselves out real quick. Same with Villanova. Villanova lost most of their talent to the draft and to graduation last year. They're still a top 10 team. They're getting there. Gonzaga were doing great, exposed against the ACC this year, looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Surprise, Gonzaga's going to suck.
Well, at least we won't have to worry about St. Mary's this year, because they're not doing well at all. So
no bullshit. St. Mary's is still going to make the tournament because they'll beat everybody else in their tournament but Gonzaga. This is how it happens every year, Brian. We're not surprised. And St. Mary's will continue to suck a giant, fat, old penis in terms of their skill level. They're a first weekend team. They always are. They don't go much farther than that. If you're a St. Mary's fan, well, good for you, and maybe you should root for a real team.
So, listen, like I said, I wanted to offer up the segment because, I feel like we should, and we do this for every other sport, so why not? But it is harder for college basketball than any other sport to preview. It really is. So you do it the best you can, and you just kind of like, okay, we'll give you a more comprehensive preview when it comes time for the NCAA tournament, because by that point you've seen the season and you know what these teams are. Also, some teams you still don't know. You still don't know.
Also, friendly disclaimer: if you're a fan of St. Mary's, good for you. Again, you are free to be a fan of St. Mary's. It's just the national opinion of St. Mary's as a basketball team is really, really rather low. Anyways, and oh, by the way, Michigan State, they're still dealing with this black cloud known as Larry Nasser.
Mm.
Also, they're dealing with another black cloud of Tom Izzo. He got lucky that one year apparently, and hasn't been able to figure out the tournament ever since. Surprise!
But like I said, it's very difficult
Also, the
to
Big Ten sucks.
yeah, but that's been
Also,
happening recently.
90% of all West Coast basketball kind of sucks right now. They need to get another level. All right, so there. That is your
Yes.
preview.
I
However,
thought
things will improve come March.
I
Past
in
beginning
my
of February.
yeah. Well, I thought that we'd have more from the Mountain West, but I guess not. But yeah, it is very difficult. It is very difficult to look at. It's just again. So we offer up the segment. We give you some ideas. We give you some teams to watch out for, and that's the best we can do with it. It's kind of what's happened the last couple of years. When we first started doing this show, it was easier. Now it's not. So, all right. So let's move on from the basketball. There was really no big headlines. I mentioned a couple things in the preview. I'm not going to go over any big games. I'm not going to do that because this next week's going to be pretty lax on games because of bowl season and because of the holidays. So, so we're not doing any big, look back at any games or anything like that. We mentioned enough of that in the preview, so we'll leave it at that. We got wrestling stuff to get to because we had a pay-per-view on Sunday, and we have a new era of WWE that started yesterday. And boy, for such a nothing segment, the McMahons proved that they can still be a ratings draw. Their ratings went up 16%. Just having Vince on the show. No wonder why they're scattering the McMahons on both shows this week. But I will say this. I'm going to bring this up now because this is a headline that we have to start with. And I don't know if Mike has seen this. So Mustafa Ali has been added to the SmackDown roster.
Yes, I saw it.
He pinned Daniel Bryan.
Yes, I also saw that too. I had a lot of time when you were just rambling and rambling.
Oh, stop.
And rambling.
Be happy.
I have a bit of a migraine going right now, so it's a little hard for me.
Kevin Owens is coming back. Be happy.
No shit, Sherlock.
But yeah, still a pretty big deal. Now, so what that's telling me is that, and there's been a lot of speculation about 205 Live and where it's going to go. I hope they're not getting rid of it because it's starting to sound like they might be testing the waters with some of these guys.
I think they moved Mustafa Ali up because he was getting over. He got a great reaction, and the dude is a star who can print money and who could appeal to a different base than the typical WWE star. So there's a reason why Mustafa Ali is a calculated risk. I mean, there was an accidental botch today when he did the 054. He didn't extend his legs out far enough, and he accidentally got Daniel Bryan right in his jaw. But you could tell Mustafa Ali immediately went for the cover and immediately checked to see if Bryan was all right. Bryan's fine.
Yeah, he's working the taping now, so he's fine.
So. But the thing with Mustafa Ali, he takes Bryan to the limit last week. He pins Daniel Bryan this week. They might be looking at Mustafa Ali as a guy who could be a star. More than likely, he could be a U.S. Championship match candidate. But he is a dark horse candidate for maybe an outside shot at a world title run at some point, because let's face it, Daniel Bryan doesn't have an opponent for WrestleMania.
Well, I'll say this. Given the amount of attention they gave him the last 2 weeks on SmackDown, and given they're selling this whole fresh start, fresh matches, new faces, if they really want to try to sell that, boy, putting Mustafa Ali in a world title picture immediately and setting up just like Cinderella story going into Mania would be an interesting way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's something they're looking to do, because this kind of seemed like a response to last week. which was well received. So, and as I look at this, I mean, look, I got both shows. I think SmackDown again was a little bit better than Raw. I think they both had a good week. I think the WWE made a mistake last night though with the McMahon thing because I understand they had to get ahead of it, the ratings, all that stuff. But why on earth would you the problem is, people are going to want to be instantly gratified. They're going to want changes right now, big changes right now, right? WWE is not going to do something earth-shattering this week when next week is Christmas and the week after is New Year's. The next the next show is going to be taped, so they're going to be doing it right afterwards, and that that really you got WrestleMania. They're not going to do anything earth-shattering right now. So what they should have done was just did last night's show the way they did it. Fire Baron Corbin, have Triple H and Stephanie come out and say, "Hey, we're out here right now. We're right now discussing changes, more coming soon," and then have Vince show up on January 7th when you know that you're beyond the holidays, and it just seemed like a better thing to do.
Well, they're taping everything ahead of time, and they wanted to pop these ratings. The problem with WWE is it's a response to Raw being complete and total garbage the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that means that SmackDown suffers because of it as well. Because unfortunately, they had to remove Paige as general manager, which doesn't make any sense. Paige was doing a good job other than giving Charlotte a billion opportunities at the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Right. Look, here's the thing, though. The whole GM thing, GMs just don't last long. And I kind of wish that, I know they're never going to completely do away with them, but, with the McMahons and everything, I kind of wish they just, the way that they're doing it right now with them being involved.
Did you just seriously sit there and say GMs don't last long?
They don't last long.
I don't know. Teddy Long sure made a career being a long tenured general manager.
That's okay.
Hey, did you know Eric Bischoff was a long tenured general manager for Raw?
Okay, different era, Mike.
Literally, it's the same era.
Okay, when's the last GM that's lasted a substantially long time? Mick Foley lasted like 6 months?
Yeah, Mick Foley lasted like 6 months. Who was the SmackDown general manager? Daniel Bryan. He was for over.
He lasted over a year. All right, okay. Still though, how long did you think Paige was going to be a GM?
Literally over a year.
Well, she'd be better off as a manager anyway. To be honest, I think that's. I don't know. They'll find somebody.
For Absolution, she pretty much washed her hands of Absolution.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just saying that it's something that I think that it's not. Maybe she would have lasted till after Mania, but eventually they would have changed it up anyway. And they probably would have had to change it up right around the time it moved to Fox because Fox wants certain things done.
Yeah.
So
because we love to see Daniel Cormier's take on professional wrestling.
Well,
looking forward to that.
But having said that,
I think he'll make David Otunga look competent.
One of the things I thought of, because they made it a point that they really were careful about how they handled Paige tonight. Like, oh, thank you, Paige. She's going to have another role. I wonder if they're going to put her on commentary.
I don't know, better than David Otunga.
I just keep thinking that they're going to want to give her something where she's on TV weekly, because otherwise, that seems like a downgrade for her. But, yeah, so, it seemed like their goal this week was to just kind of signal that things are going to be different. And they made it a point to say last night that the changes would be happening over the course of months. It wouldn't be instant. But like I said, people want instant gratification. So that's where you're kind of stuck. And look, were there changes last night? I didn't notice so many of them on Raw. I mean, yeah, you gave a whole last hour to the gauntlet match, but you've done that before. You threw Tyra Breeze out there for a match with Dean Ambrose. That was cool. But again, it's just like a random thing. You gave the Revival a little bit more attention, but it didn't lead to anything. I felt like SmackDown seemed a little bit more vibrant than Raw did. but they also have more people to work with. Raw doesn't have anybody to work with. Braun's still hurt, even though he made an appearance on. I think he'll make an appearance next week, I should say, because we know Christmas Eve already got filmed. You know, you don't have Roman. Owens and Zayn aren't back yet, but they're coming back. What else do you have? You're missing too much. SmackDown's got Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton. Am I missing anybody? They got the whole hottest act in the business in the SmackDown Women's title scene. They got the Usos, they got the New Day, they got Sheamus and Cesaro. They got far more to work with than Raw does. They got Miz. What does Raw have? A championship. A championship's not on the show.
And Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. So, and look, they already gave Asuka a title, and boy, that was a complete middle finger to a lot of people on Twitter on Sunday night. I don't know if you saw this, but after Asuka won the title, there were a lot of people that wanted to see her feud with a heel Naomi for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they fed face Naomi to Asuka and had her tap out, so I guess they put an end to that.
Well, temporarily.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, how many people wanted to heel Natalya going up against Ronda Rousey? Yeah. And they certainly made Natalya tap out next week, spoiler alert.
Yeah, they put an end to that quickly.
So I'm pretty sure, like next week, they're going to write it off as a one-time thing.
Yeah.
For now. We're banking it for later. That's exactly what this is. We wanted to see how it works out. No surprise, Asuka gave Naomi probably her best match on the main roster.
She did. Now there was, I don't know if you know this, but there was a I guess they have a poll out saying that they got rid of automatic rematches for titles.
Yeah, that's kind of bullshit.
Now, somebody mentioned this to me in an email, and I already knew about it because I saw the poll, but and they said, do you think that they did this because of the women's division and how they are going to be crossing Becky and Charlotte over to face Ronda? So they can get them away from, the SmackDown title without having a rematch?
No, because they first instituted it by screwing over Authors of Pain last night.
Right.
Had absolutely nothing to do with Becky and Charlotte. I just don't think they'd want to put the titles back on the Authors of Pain yet. And I know they don't want to put the title back on Becky or Charlotte at the moment. It's time to take the ball. And besides, Becky's going to Raw anyway.
Right. They didn't need to do something like that to get that match set. She screwed them both over at the pay-per-view. There's ways around it, but you're right. I think this is just their way of being like, well, we think that people think we're repetitive, because they made it a point. What's the first thing out of their mouth? Fresh matchups, right? We don't want the same matchups, repetitive. So now they think by getting rid of rematches, well, if you lose your title, you're at the back of the line. So basically what they want to do is they're going to get rid of feuds now? Like you're just going to go in, lose your match, and you're done? Because that's really what makes feuds go on as long as they do, is you get the rematch and then they keep going.
Well, I would imagine then if they're going to choose to not do the title rematch for some feuds, what they would do is make it personal. They'd have to up their game.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't up their game, then they're up shit's creek without a paddle, because this automatic rematch thing is one of the ways they can extend feuds for about a month or two.
There's been times when they've ignored it on its own without changing a rule. We know that.
Yep.
So it's not like it's unheard of, but still, it's just weird that they made it a point to come right out and say it. But yeah.
Ironically, Shane McMahon screwed his 205 Live general manager, Drake Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
And his team, the Authors of Pain, out of their contractual rematch, and they should have gotten a rematch, because now what are the Authors of Pain going to do?
That the Raw division's a mess. It really is. this has no vision at all. I mean, SmackDown's just the same vision over and over again, but Raw's tag division's a mess.
Well, you say you want fresh matchups on SmackDown, and who are the teams kind of interacting with the bar tonight?
Yeah.
Sanity and the Club.
Yeah. About time.
Yeah. About time.
So, yeah. I mean, look, at least I did feel like SmackDown had a little bit more freshness to it. I felt like they were trying a little harder. Raw, but again, like we said, they have more to work with. So,
also, do you know what helps SmackDown?
2 hours.
Having the WWE Champion show
up. That too. You're right. They have to get that
They have to get the title away from Brock Lesnar, and they need to never put a world championship on that guy again.
Yeah. Agreed.
Sorry. The era of the part-time champion needs to kind of end.
It does.
Unless the part-time champion, upon winning the title, is going to do a temporary full-time schedule, or is at least going to show up to an occasional Raw once every 2 months. Once or twice a month, at least.
At least when Rock won, he was there every other week.
Yeah, Rock showed up.
I mean, the title was on the show.
You saw The Rock. You saw The Rock with the title.
Yeah. Rock's just never there. And and again, you lose something. You know, your show is lacking when you think about back when the Raw title was on the show, half the show would be about that title.
Yeah, Kevin Owens. One of the reasons why Kevin Owens made that title is he was there every week. He was making it a point to make it about the title and his friendship with Chris Jericho. Kevin Owens made that championship.
The last time
literally undid it in an entire year with Brock Lesnar.
Right. The last time Raw was really good consistently was when Kevin Owens had the title.
Surprise.
I mean, there have been spots here and there, but for the most part, the last time it was consistently good was during the Owens and Jericho run. Really.
Well, when you put the championship on a guy who can really hit home runs every week, it's not hard. Owens is a guy who can go out there, hit home runs every week with everything you give him, and he makes whatever you give him important.
Right.
He tried making Bobby Lashley important. It's not Kevin Owens' fault that they decided to go in the direction of, hey, Bobby, show us your best asset. Cue Bobby Lashley's ass.
Yeah. But yeah, we have speaking of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, that was a big story from Raw last night. They announced their returns. They were in vignettes last night. So they'll be coming back soon. They also announced call-ups. Well, Nikki Cross has already been up there once, but they're officially bringing her into the fold.
Sullivan, they've been hinting for weeks, but Heavy Machinery, that was an interesting choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's EC3. That's one of the guys I figured was coming up. Now,
EC3, if the EC3 is if booked correctly, is an excuse to print money. Period.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these guys, I think you're going to probably see either show up at the Rumble or right before it. I think Owens and Zayn are interesting because you don't know how they're going to bring these guys back. You don't know if it's going to be one of those things like the first Raw of the New Year, they just show up, or do they show up at the Rumble and screw somebody out of a spot or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know how they're going to bring these guys back. So there's a lot of intrigue about. That's why a lot of people were surprised that this came right out and announced them. Because you knew, like, it was becoming apparent that Owens was going to be back in time for WrestleMania. Zayn's the one everybody thought was gone until after Mania, for sure. So it was surprising to see him advertised as well. But, as in all things Owens and Zayn, they all have to be announced at the same time. I swear it's like they planned that. It's kind of weird. But, yeah, we'll see. It does... From what I've been able to gather, it seems like Owens is going to be a face. I don't know what Sami Zayn is going to be.
between them.
That would look like that's the case, but I don't know. I don't know what they're, it seems like they have more of a plan for Owens than they do for Zayn. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, as I said, I thought Raw and SmackDown were okay. I thought SmackDown was a little better, but TLC might have been one of the best pay-per-views of the year. Shockingly enough, and that was because we had an awesome main event. I know Mike for once was pretty happy with a pay-per-view.
Took a while, but I got there.
Yeah, a couple of your people win finally, so that was pleasing.
Yeah.
Been a long time coming from Asuka, but she finally had her glory moment, and look, at least if she's gonna have her glory moment, she got a match that is probably gonna be a match of the year candidate. So,
everybody agrees Asuka should have had this moment back in April at WrestleMania.
Right.
She went through 6 months of terrible booking. Got one of the biggest reactions before Survivor Series. Got a big reaction after Survivor Series, and surprise, now she's women's champion.
Right.
She got there. It took all month, but she got there all year. But she finally got there. And yes, it was a match of your candidate. Yes, Ronda Rousey did interfere, and yes, I believe that added to the match wholeheartedly. Kind of like the Goldberg interference aided the Eddie Guerrero Brock Lesnar championship match back at No Way Out all years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you choose to use that interference, and the Ronda interference is smart. Becky and Charlotte both wronged her over the last month. She screws Becky out the title, and she did a little thing where she made it so that secondary ladder would have a harder time setting it up. It was a little bit of a hidden highlight. It wasn't bad. And then Asuka just kind of climbs up and grabs the title.
Yeah, so it was well done. The whole match was well done, and it had the right winner. The story, and they really, and that's the thing that's the reason why that whole group right now, Becky, Charlotte, Ronda, Asuka is so well done right now because the storytelling's so good. It started with the Becky Charlotte. Well, actually, it started before that if you include the Charlotte Asuka stuff, and you got Ronda, and then even if you want to bring Nia Jax into it, and you bring Asuka back into it, and they told that story on SmackDown last week where it was like Becky and Charlotte going at it, and then there's Asuka, who it's like they take her seriously, but they're so focused on each other, and then here comes just when you think that okay, yeah, they're fighting with each other, but ultimately they're going to be able to overcome the other. One of the things that they, kind of like their past comes back to haunt them. Well, we screwed with Ronda too, and here comes Ronda. It was perfectly done, and I mean the right match main evented. And look, they did a great job with it. And honestly, I thought the whole night was for the most part good. I finally got the chance to see the Ronda Nia match. I didn't think it was bad. Didn't think it was great either. AJ Daniel Bryan wasn't bad, for what it was. I thought the tag match at the beginning was good. Ray and Orton was fine. Now I'm sure you've heard this, but one of the big stories coming out of the pay-per-view, and again, it was a very solid pay-per-view, was Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins and how Vince was apparently furious with the match. Now the crowd pretty much crapped all over it. Even though I thought the final part of the match I thought was fine, but the crowd wasn't into it. I told you when we were watching it, I thought that the placement was probably going to hurt it, which I think it did. But I also think too, and I think you'd probably agree with me, every time it seems like Ambrose is in a big match, it seems like the crowd just doesn't get invested in it. And it seems like Ambrose has a way of always kind of dropping the ball when they kind of give him a big spot. We know when he was the champion, WWE champion, he made, from the Austin interview to the way he was, kind of bringing it in the matches, there was a lot of disappointment in Ambrose that they took the title off him probably quicker than they probably wanted to. And now here you are again, where it's like, okay, we're giving Ambrose a big spot. and they don't feel like he's bringing it. Now, I don't know how much of the blame went on Ambrose and how much of the blame went on Rollins, but based on the way they treat Rollins over the years, I think it's probably more likely they put more blame on Dean Ambrose. So I didn't think the match was that bad, but I can get why Vince is probably furious because given how personal it really should have been, and these two had decent matches before, but it wasn't a gimmick match. And if you look back at the history of Ambrose and Rollins, their best matches always tended to be gimmick matches of some sort. So it seems like you're in a position here where if you don't get Ambrose into a gimmick match with somebody because of how limited he can be moveset-wise, you end up with a match that doesn't satisfy. Am I wrong about that, or is that just an overgeneralization? Did I lose you? I think we lost Mike.
Probably. No.
No, you're back.
Yep,
You're there.
no, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I was letting you talk.
Well, I was asking you a question. I was building up to that. I was being very dramatic, Mike.
What was the question?
Well,
Again,
I meant okay, no problem. So I mentioned that obviously there was heat on the Ambrose Rollins match. Vince was apparently furious with it. The crowd crapped all over it, even though I didn't think it was a bad match, particularly the ending. Crowd didn't seem invested in it. Maybe the placement was an issue. I told you that off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Now, judging by the way that they treat these two, I would figure that there's probably more heat on Ambrose than Rollins because every time they put Ambrose in the big spot, it seems like he drops the ball a little bit. You remember when he was champion, he dropped the ball and they took the title off him quicker than they probably were expecting to. He does have a limited moveset, and it seems like him and Rollins have always had better matches when it's been more of a gimmick match.
Sure.
So is that an overgeneralization that usually it's better for Ambrose when he has more like a gimmick match to work with, or is it just the simple fact that they ruined this fucking feud? Oh, wow, excuse the F word. Wow. Take the F word out. It'll be bleeped. It's okay. They ruined this freaking feud, and the crowd just didn't care anymore about it, or was it the placement?
Actually, there's more than a few factors here. First question: gimmick matches hide everybody's flaws. Period. You don't have a big moveset. Well, you're in a gimmick match. Well, surprise! You don't need a ton of moves in a gimmick match. You're using the gimmicks to get your heat. That's just how that works. Dean Ambrose had a couple of moves that he used here and there to build up the dirty deeds. As a heel, he needs to figure out what moves he has to use in order to build that heat. Now, they were doing their best job to kill this match up until last week.
Right.
But the whole sense is you're generally building this match up to be a blood feud. So why would you start out with about 10 minutes of grappling and chain wrestling? It wasn't... Yes, the placement on the card didn't help it at all. It probably should have been placed earlier in the night.
Agreed.
However, what they were trying to portray versus what they were building it up to be didn't match. Rollins versus Ambrose should be this hard-hitting, blood feud kind of match. They went slow and psychological with it. And that's fine. They made that choice. But the problem with going slow and psychological is that the crowd was dead in that spot. The crowd was dead and probably couldn't tolerate a slow and psychological match. And they were waiting for the three biggest stars in wrestling right now to come out and wrestle. So it was match placement. It's not so much Dean Ambrose. It's just they wanted to go with a slow and psychological kind of match to show show that Seth Rollins is weaker than he should be, and blah 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 blah. The problem with doing a slow and psychological match in that spot is you lost the crowd and you're not getting them back because they were burnt out. And you needed to have a really hard hitting, fast paced kind of blood feud match to kind of keep the crowd where they needed to be. So it was the wrong kind of match for that spot. If you were going to do this slow psychological match, it needed to have been like the second or third match.
Right.
And even then, it probably wouldn't have worked there either. I'm not saying that the fan base can't appreciate it. It's just for what it was. It wasn't working until you got towards the last 10 minutes, in which case everything pretty much ramped up.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I'm just going to say this too. It didn't help that they botched they started the feud very well. And then they went through a period where they botched it right on the time that Raw got really, really bad. And then they kind of brought it back the Raw before the pay-per-view. But I honestly feel like you lost the crowd already with it. I didn't see it. I mean, people were looking forward to the match because of who it was. But I feel like so much of the emotion of the feud was gone already. And you could have brought it back. You could have brought it back. If you brought some of that intensity into the match from the get-go. And I think they did a little bit, but it never got so demonstrative that the crowd was like, oh, wow, what are we seeing? Like the things that you saw Charlotte and Becky do in the main event. You know what I mean? Where it kept you'd see the facial expression, and it kept being brought back to, you don't respect me, I don't respect you, or, you know what I mean? It kept being brought back to the issues the two have. And so the crowd's constantly seeing this and go, oh, wow, this is really still intense. You didn't get that. And that's a problem. And there are some guys on this roster that still don't seem to do that. You know, I think the Shield guys have always struggled with that a little bit. I mean, they don't seem to, sometimes just don't seem to let the match breathe. You know, they don't take the time to add those storytelling moments to their matches. They just never have. Like you see Owens and Zayn do that in their matches. You sometimes see Finn Balor do that. AJ did it in a Finn Balor match, but you haven't seen AJ struggles with it too. I think the only time I seen him really do it was the Finn match and the Cena match. Those are the only two times I think I seen him do it. But you know what I'm saying though, like to take those moments and kind of do something to get the crowd's attention and be like, wow, this is a moment here. Because I think, I mean, athleticism is one thing, but storytelling has to be a big part of it too. And when you don't bring the storytelling into it, then you lose something. So, I think that's probably one of the things that was a problem there too. Having said that, it wasn't a bad match. The whole pay-per-view itself was very, very solid. So, that at least WWE ended the year on a good note with the pay-per-view, and they had a couple good nights here. Again, they filmed Raw for Christmas Eve last night. I'll tell you this, spoiler alert, not much happens. SmackDown is filming right now. I don't know. I haven't seen any. I'm checking right now to see if there's anything huge that happens. I highly doubt it. It's taking place on Christmas Day. So I don't think they'll do anything big. New Year's shows might be. They won't be much bigger, but they might have something.
So the question is, are the New Day going to wrestle in some sort of Christmas gimmick match? Like they do
checking
every
right now.
year.
I would imagine so. Well, wait a second here.
Well, they have Rusev versus Nakamura and Hardy versus Joe.
Okay. I almost let's see, we got a tag match. Okay, the New Day had on Christmas costumes with white beards and Santa Claus hats.
Nice.
But they weren't in a match. Oh, Luke. Oh, well, I'll spoil this, folks. They filmed this for next Tuesday. Gallows and Anderson in the New Day defeated Kennedy and the Bar in an 8-man match. So they were in a match. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Just a Santa Claus. Mustafa Ali faced Andrade Sin Amas.
CN.
Yeah, Sin. Sorry.
CN.
CN. Okay, thank you. I got it. But they had a match. Apparently, it was really good. Miz and Shane McMahon had a Miz TV. The Miz Shane thing is pretty big. Finally, there was progress with that, but apparently they're going to be a tag team now. They raised the title together, so the World Cup trophy together. So we'll see what happens with that. Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe. That's what they're on right now. So Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe are having a match. Apparently, it's really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's actually over. So, I won't spoil it, but no surprise. Yeah, so that's where they're at right now. I'm not sure what the main event is. Oh, actually, well, wait a second now. We had a title change at SmackDown for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to hear the spoiler, turn off your headset now. I'll spoil it. Rusev beat Nakamura for the U.S. title.
What's the point of that?
Don't know. But Rusev beat him, so. So, yeah. Got no idea. That kind of worries me about Nakamura's contract negotiations, though. Because that seems kind of random, if you think about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
That does seem kind of random. I hadn't heard a thing about that. That came out of nowhere. One other tidbit too. A lot of people are talking about last night's women's gauntlet match, and I don't know if anybody's seen this report, but Jason Jordan and Tyson Kidd produced the gauntlet match on Raw last night. So if you're wondering who was behind that match, those are the two people that were. It's funny, Natalya won that match, and Tyson Kidd helped produce it. So
surprise.
Yeah, but I think the bigger story there is Jason Jordan produced it, which good for him that they're giving him such clout. So yeah, so it looks like SmackDown has at least a little bit more of an eventful show next Tuesday than Raw has on Christmas Eve. Now that doesn't really surprise me because you figure on Christmas Day night, there might be more people home to watch than Christmas Eve. So I could see why maybe they feel like they can do something that night. But still, it's not going to be again, not anything earth-shattering. New Year's, you might see more going on, but not much. It won't be till January, January 7th that you see stuff happen big time again. That's usually the case every year. So, let's see. Anything else? I'm looking at my notes here to see if there's anything that we missed. I don't think so. So yeah. It was an eventful week in WWE. The next couple of weeks should be a little more quieter, and then once we get to January, it's gonna business will pick up as usual, and then you got the Rumble, and away you go. As I said, any other sports stuff that we have to cover, baseball and college football, we're going to do that on Thursday, along with box office beat, TV highlights, any other entertainment stuff we have to cover. So we'll do bowl preview, we'll do all that stuff on Thursday. Also, one more reminder, ballot requests for this year's Film Awards also due on Thursday by 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. A couple of you asked me if I'm going to talk about some of the other things, like Ray Rice speaking out against domestic violence, the possibility of the Lakers getting Anthony Davis. Maybe we'll touch on a few of those on Thursday if we have time, but we're not doing that tonight, obviously. So yeah, with that being said, we are done for the night. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to the show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show, the scheduling of the show, topic ideas, breaking news items, various sports, entertainment, wrestling wants to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions. Remember, ballot requests or any submissions for the awards, film awards, you can only do by email only. But any of the other stuff you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding the show. Remember, you want to follow us on social media for the latest information about the show, especially when it comes to scheduling any post moments, delays, or any other information about the show, along with any other random thoughts or postings we feel like posting. You want to have access to all that and more. Make sure that you follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is what you want to tweet when you're tweeting about us or at us. And on Facebook, to search In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and keep up to date on everything that's going on with the show and all that good stuff. 2 ways to keep with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime here on YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show page here on YouTube, where you'll find every episode we produced since we joined Google Plus and YouTube way back in mid-October of 2015. Those episodes are available for you to stream anytime you wish. So just head over to YouTube and search In the Spotlight 411. And you can access all those episodes. If streaming is not your thing, make sure to listen to us on the go. Or maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, and search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taking our show page on both sites. We'll have access to every episode we've done in the nearly 8 years been doing the show. That's every episode from our Blog Talk Radio days when we first started, all the way into our Talk Shoe days, where we spent most of our time and including our talk show, and then we also have our YouTube episodes as well, all transferred to audio format for you. So every episode we've done in the 8 years we've been doing this show, all available in audio format for you to listen to anytime you want, all in order from the most recent date, that being tonight, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010 when we started on Blog Talk Radio. All those episodes available for you anytime to listen to. Whether you miss an old episode or want to check out an old episode again, or you want to keep up with recent episodes, whatever the case, you can do all that on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes are your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411. Really quickly, people are asking me, you're doing the bowl preview on Thursday, but we've already had some bowl games. They started on Saturday. We've already had several. So you're not picking every bowl game this year? No, I am not. I thought it became tedious. I'm going to only pick, I'm going to pick a select few bowls, and then I'm going to pick everything from like the big bowls, like I think around the 28th of December, all the way to the end. I just decided it was too tedious to do that. And it was too hard to keep track of because we only have one show next week and one show the week after. So, but yeah, so that's why I went. So don't worry, folks. I know that there's been bowl games that have already happened. I'm well aware of it. I should have noted that last week so people didn't wonder what was going on. But yes, we're not picking all the bowl games this year. So sorry if you're disappointed, but it was just too tedious to do it. All right, so with that disclaimer being said, shout out time. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Happy birthday, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go lay down. We're actually continuing to lay down now because my face hurts.
Ooh. That sucks.
Migraine, as I've said.
Oh, I know. Okay. I want to thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back, except for the beginning when I just, was all over the place. Before I get tons of mail, people telling me, make sure you follow your notes. I'm already aware, folks. No worries. Like I said, it's something that it's a bad habit of mine that I've done for years. I stick to my notes. I'll learn my lesson. It's okay. Eventually I will. But yeah, another great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. Yes, I'm aware I always pat myself on my back, even if I have a bad show. It's just my way. I did that on Thursday. I thought we had a terrible show on Thursday. So, but if I don't do it, even on a bad show, people freak out. It's like people don't like things not being normal. You're not patting yourself on the back. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why aren't you doing it? People, I do get mail like that, folks, believe it or not. It's weird. It's kind of creepy. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Again, this Thursday, ballot request deadline, 10 o'clock from Eastern time. Make sure you get those in for the Film Awards. So got to Thursday. Make sure you do it. Thursday, entertainment sports combo show. We'll do box office beat, TV highlights, any other entertainment stuff we have to cover. Sports, we'll do MLB, college football bowl preview. All that will be on Thursday. Anything else we have to cover as well from sports, entertainment, wrestling, whatever we have to do, we'll cover it on Thursday. And then that's it for this week. And then next week, we'll have one show on Thursday, and then the following one show on Thursday as well as we head into holiday time. So that's what's going to be going down. And so, yeah, until Thursday, when we have our next show, 10 o'clock from Eastern time, this Thursday, December the 20th. That's our next show. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night. Great Wednesday, great Thursday. We'll see you back here Thursday night, 10 o'clock from Eastern time here on YouTube. Until then, have a good night, everybody.